Social music talk.
I was the guy that after I left 91X, I went to the Flash.
Yeah, as a PD, right?
As a PD, and I changed the name from the Flash to something else because it's funny because
Was that premium, by the way?
No. This
Okay.
is when it was 92.5.
This is way back. Okay.
92.5 was started, and the guy who owned it, Luis Kaloyan, flipped it to this Flash format because there was a guy called what's his name? Sherman Cohen.
Sherman Cohen,
came out from
who is deceased now.
Who is deceased now? Yes. Sherman came out from Oklahoma City or something, convinced him that basically the format should be old 91X music mixed in with new stuff that sounded like old 91X music. So it was like White Dove and those kind of what is that the name of the band? White Dove?
I remember that.
What
One
song?
Love by White Dove.
Yeah, all those kind of things. So the trippy part is that when it came into town, we had heard about it in advance. We at 90 Rocks had heard about it in advance. And the whole thing is you cannot protect against somebody taking your library away from you. You can only protect against certain things. Mm-hmm. So Kevin and I used to have these long discussions like, at what point does erasure become irrelevant?
Yeah.
They became irrelevant a lot faster when you had a radio station that played nothing but old 90 Rex music.
Synth pop.
Yes. So all of that stuff became super relevant. Within 6 months, they burned all of the library.
Wow. Pet Shop Boys.
Everything.
Yeah.
You name it.
OMD.
They burned everything.
Yeah.
But they did
not
launch,
Depeche Mode.
Sherman, to his credit, did launch what we all consider Hot AC now. Because the Hot AC stuff, I mean, if you listen to the whatever Kixie is now, Easy, whatever, Sunny,
Right.
they still play Hold Me Now by the Thompson Twins,
All
and they
right.
play that stuff. So he launched a format not knowing he was launching a format. He thought he was launching an old 91X format.
And you know, I met him once at one of these conventions. It might have been a Gavin convention, and you were like one of the MC type people at this convention in San Diego. And
You're talking about the one where we got into the Beastie Boys argument?
it could be. So the Flash with Sherman was already developing, and Bryn Capello was the
Right.
music director there.
The issue that I had was, and you know, in fact, I got to call Bryn today later on, but they were basically the feminine side and the melodic side of what 91X did, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the issue is that the library just got completely fried because they didn't keep up on the new stuff.
Yes.
They weren't going to play the bands. They were going to play stadiums in 2 years. So the story goes is that Sherman was on a panel. I think it was in San Francisco, because there was the one here in '98 was when I took over the station because Sherman had left.
I did go to that one.
Right, that was the one down here.
Okay. It was
When
raining on that weekend. I remember that.
in San Diego,
Yeah.
it probably was. It was February, as
Yeah.
they usually were. But that being said, the one in San Francisco, on the panel, it was the jukebox panel where they play all these new songs that hadn't been released yet, and whoever it was from Capitol brought in the new Beasties, and I believe at that time it was So What You Want.
Mm-hmm.
And they played it. I'd been playing the Beastie Boys since before they were signed to a major label. I'd play them when they were on Rat Cage Records. I loved the band. I knew everything about them. And it came out, and it was super in your face, and it was super different than everything else that had come out prior to that. It was not Paul's Boutique-ish. It was whatever. And Sherman goes, "We'll never play that." And I said, and that's why you're going to fail. Because it's going to fail because you're not going to play one of the most important bands in the history of alternative. I mean, they really are, still are to this day, even though that Yauk's been dead for a while. But that's the difference. And by the way, I will always mention this because Sherman was one of the first mobile DJs that digitized this massive library that he had. Some of it on MP3, but he digitized it and he shared his hard drives with people. And after he passed away, I received hard drives full of MP3s that originally he was the one who encoded them back in the day. So when I go to clubs to play, I will have music that I don't normally didn't because of Sherman Cohen. And I've always said that every time this subject comes up, I will say that he died without a lot of people understanding what he was all about, but he really was an innovator. He did launch a format which is still in effect today, but he launched it in San Diego as a direct competition to 91X at the
And
time.
you're saying that's modern AC?
Well, it's kind of like what modern AC is. I mean, if you look
Okay.
at it, it's like the No Doubts of the world and the Gwen Stefani's of the world and
Alanis Morissette.
Alanis Morissette, all that stuff. I mean, really was. I mean, Alanis Morissette, the first time she got played on the radio was on 91X, and the same thing with the Thompson Twins, the same thing with all that stuff. But 91X had to have two parts, and it was right around the time that Nirvana was pretty freaking massive.
Yeah.
So we had to make our minds up to where we're going to keep going down the Erasure Depeche Mode road. Howard Jones, like if Howard Jones came with a new album, we're going to play that, or we're going to play the new Mudhoney. That's kind of what it kind of came down to. So to answer your question about the Flash thing is that I switched and I'll tell you why I switched the name of it, because I had a meeting with the owner and the GM at the time, and I said, I get it. I understand it was supposed to be Flashback. The
Oh,
Flash.
that's
It was
why they
supposed
called
to-
it that?
Yeah, it was supposed to be
Okay.
like a flashback radio station, but they shortened it to Flash. Yeah. And this is in the early days of AOL. And when you went on AOL to search terms, right? Or you went on the internet to search terms, you would think that the Flash would pop up if you searched Flash San Diego.
You would think.
You would think. But instead, you got Black's Beach. You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. But to explain it to the average Joe, Flash was the, exposing yourself in public. And Black's Beach was the place that most people went to do nude sunbathing. So Flash became a term on the internet that was not copacetic to a flashback radio
Had
station.
double meaning.
Well, it really had only one meaning. They tried to make it into something else.
Okay.
But
So the Flash, that disappeared when? Like early 2000s or something?
no, I took it over in 98. So in January of 98, I flipped the name to Independent Radio. It was
Okay.
92.5, the independent radio station. That's what we did.
And so then how did that develop? How long did you stay with that?
I was there for about 8-9 months. It's funny because when Brian Shock was here a couple 3 weeks ago, could have asked him, but he was programming 91X at the time, and we came in, and 8 months later, well, actually it was less than that. They bought out the owner. They basically paid the owner off to get rid of us. Cost him about $150,000 a month to get rid of us. But that's what happened. It was those are the brutal days of radio where they couldn't own things, so they basically had shell companies that they put together.
Yeah.
So Citadel Broadcasting came in and took over the programming duties, and they flipped it to Magic, which it is now. They flipped it to Magic 92.5. So
Everything always flips away from rock. Have you noticed that?
well, recently it happened to BOS in Boston.
Yeah.
Flipped because they weren't playing currents. I think it was Karen Glauber said the other day, play currents or die. Because if you keep playing
Yeah,
just
but
the same.
Imagine Dragons. that
No,
doesn't hold up.
but I'm not saying what kind of currents. I'm just saying if you don't play currents, you will die. And apparently BOS had stopped playing currents in the daytime. They were playing recurrents in library, and that was it. So
Cool.
yes, you've had a bunch of XPDs on the air.
And I want to wrap up this little section and do another little section after this to talk more about that. What is the purpose of talking about all these good old days in the 90s with XPDs? Social music.